The Mushroom Kingdom is one of the most familiar locations in video games. If you close your eyes, you can almost see that first question block and Goomba coming at you, so it might not seem that unusual. But if you think about it, and I mean really think about it, the home turf of Mario, Peach, and Dry Bones is really peculiar. Other games from the Super Mario Bros. Era were comparatively pretty normal. Metal Gear was already going for realism. Final Fantasy was typical for sword and sorcery. Mega Man made sense for a story about an autonomous boy robot, but the Mushroom Kingdom is truly bizarre. There are mushrooms and evil mushrooms in an entire level made of mushrooms. There's a leaf that gives Mario a raccoon tail that allows him to fly, because that makes sense. There are carnivorous plants coming out of sewer pipes that you can enter and be taken halfway around the world. Mike at Idea Channel compared it to surrealist artwork, so what's really going on here? Why is Mushroom Kingdom so weird? While it may seem that Nintendo was going through their experimental college years when they made Mario 1, 2, 3, and World, there are some legitimate reasons for the insanity. While it may seem like some of the bizarreness comes out of left field, Nintendo was actually incredibly deliberate with each of their decisions. However, there's a lot to answer for here if I want to convince you, so let's dive in. Right off the bat, we need to talk about Mario's fashion sense. I mean, who wears overalls, white gloves, a baseball cap with his own initial on it, his own initial, and a Tom Selleck mustache? Outside of Fashion Week, it's completely eccentric. Sorry if you wear this. This goes back to when Miyamoto was designing the original Mario sprite. He only had 16 by 16 pixels to work with, meaning compromises were made to cram everything in. In lieu of a mouth that would need to be animated, Mario got a mustache. This conserved real estate because with a mustache, they only needed 1 pixel for the chin. Also, hair posed a problem. Mario's hair and facial features were drawn in the same color, so if they gave him a full head of hair, it would blend in with the rest of the face when they animated him. That would make it look like Mario was eyeless, which is terrifying. But if they gave him a hat instead, they could use 2 pixels directly below it for cute little eyes and just a little tuft of hair poking out the back. Overalls came from the need to animate Mario so that it looked like he was running. Mario swings his arms when he's in motion, and they wanted to make the arms stand out from the body using different colors. Say what you will about overalls, and I have, they are one of the few outfits that actually make you look like you're running really, really fast. So that explains what a mustachioed Italian working class hero is doing in Wonderland, but that's only half of it. What about the world itself? As far as fantasy worlds go, the Mushroom Kingdom is among the strangest, right next to Wonderland, Middle Earth, and maybe the paintings of Hieronymus Bosch. This place, totally nutso. For instance, why are there all those bottomless pits? Again, this was a choice by necessity. Super Mario Bros. Was one of the first games where the screen could scroll smoothly from left to right, but the chip it used wasn't powerful enough to scroll vertically as well. Obviously, this became a super important element to the game design, since Mario had no option but to jump or fall off the edge of the earth into the eternal abyss. Also, how come Mario can swim underwater without breathing? Well, in side-scrolling Mario games, Mario's swimming mechanic was inherited from another Nintendo game, Balloon Fight. The only difference was that in Balloon Fight you were flying instead of swimming, so there was no reason to grab air bubbles or surface for air. And when the mechanic jumped ship to Mario, no one bothered changing it. Okay, that makes sense, but it doesn't explain other things, like how Mario and Luigi are able to stand on clouds without falling through them. Well, Walking on Clouds was inspired by Journey to the West, the classic Chinese literary work where the hero, the Monkey King, had all these crazy cloud hopping abilities. Much like the Tanuki suit, which is rooted in Japanese folklore, this is an example of how Mario's world might seem strange to us if we're unfamiliar with the cultural reasons behind them. That sounds perfectly reasonable. But you've got to admit that the bad guys are really unusual, even for mythological creatures. Just look at the Koopas, for instance. No tortoise would get dislodged from its shell when it's stepped on, because its carapace is actually fused to its spine. Obviously, this liberty was taken for the sake of game design. Miyamoto wanted a visual cue to alert the player when the shell was about to come alive again, and that is the adorable idea that they came up with. Oh, look. They're wearing t-shirts. As for turtles that fly, that's a totally different story. During the development of Super Mario Bros., the team wanted bad guys who could fly, but they didn't have enough memory left to create a new enemy, so they just stuck a pair of wings on an enemy that already existed, called it a day, and the Koopa Troopa was born. And the Goombas, well, the thing about the Goombas, okay, you got me. Walking anthropomorphic mushrooms with crazy old man eyebrows are pretty weird. Of course, you can't explain away all the inherent weirdness of the Mario universe with technical limitations and misunderstood cultural cues, but they help set the precedent for the wonderful strangeness that was yet to come. Now we have mushroom cat Goombas and a Mario who's been transformed into a sheet of paper and airships driven by child lizards and Mario in space. on ice. The curious thing is how all this creativity originated from working within the confines of a new medium. As the Russian composer Igor Stravinsky has said, the more constraints one imposes, the more one frees oneself. So maybe the Mushroom Kingdom isn't so weird after all, except for the Minus world, which still kind of breaks my mind. What do you think? Is the Mushroom Kingdom weird, or am I weird for asking? Hash it out in the comments, and if you like what you saw, please subscribe. I'll see you next week. Christoph Ziva brings up this idea that luck can actually give the player a degree of freedom and agency in games, because we've all played games where you're required to do things exactly right or else you'll lose miserably. But incorporating luck into boss fights, for instance, typically those are very, very hard, can actually give us a greater sense of agency. So in a game like Fire Emblem, for example, you have to account for the scenario in which you have an attack which should be a sure thing, totally misses. So, hopefully this this injection of luck makes players feel like they have actually a little bit more control. Piccolo's questions if mistakes are luck or not. Their point is that if I try to shoot a guy on the other team and miss because I'm no good at the game, that's not luck. I just suck. And from this perspective, it's more like luck if I actually land a shot. So it seems that luck and skill exist on this continuum where the more skill that you have, the less lucky you are.